Hey, horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. And this may be one of the most difficult reviews I've ever done, and it's just because I don't know how to talk about this movie. I mean, I understand it, I just don't know how to explain it, and that is David Lynch's Eraserhead, which is a movie I very much enjoy, but I don't know how to explain it. I can't even read the synopsis because this is a cheap ass DVD I found. I wanted the Criterion one, but those are expensive. Like the back is all in Korean. It has like these weird symbols on the side and underneath the title. That's not Korean. So Eraserhead came out in 1977. It's David Lynch's first film, and of course, David Lynch, he's one of the progenitors of the body horror genre, along with Cronenberg. I think Cronenberg's a little more well known for it. His movies are always weird and unsettling. He went on to do The Elephant Man and Blue Velvet. The only other one I've seen is Mulholland Drive, which was a good movie, but actually that was more hard to understand than this. Of course, Eraserhead is known, sort of, whenever people talk about it, they talk about how it's nonsensical and it's just weird for the sake of being weird. Which, I mean, some things maybe. The super weird stuff does still serve a purpose. It's more or less a metaphorical. Like the lady in the radiator, the beautiful woman across the hall, the man on the planet. Excuse me, that all sounds weird right now. And those are like the big weird scenes. Excuse me, get fucking hiccups today. But I sort of get that stuff. It's just the smaller bits of weirdness that I don't, and I'll get into those. Okay, well, it stars Jack Nance, which on this it says John Nance, as this guy named Henry Spencer. Now, Henry Spencer is this guy with this crazy square hairdo. He wears a suit that doesn't fit him with this huge pocket protector. He always looks nervous and uncertain of the world around him. He accidentally gets his girlfriend pregnant. She has it prematurely. Her mother forces them to marry. And I guess the main plot is she leaves him to watch over the child alone. And the thing about the child is it was born so prematurely that it is hideously deformed and barely resembles a human. So that's pretty much the core of the plot. Everything else is, I mean, if it was nonsensical and weird, we wouldn't be able to have a plot string us along with certain characters. I really don't know how to describe this movie. I don't. I'm gonna try though. It's shot in black and white, which adds to the surrealism. I mean, it's sort of like a modern American version of like a German expressionist film, like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920, I believe. 20 or 21, I think it's 20. And this is probably the closest you can get to watching a nightmare. I mean, that's pretty much the most common consensus, is that this movie is like watching somebody's nightmare. And it does it very, very well. It is unsettling and awkward and strange at times, but I've always been entertained by this movie. I love the black and white sets a very eerie mood that just grabs you. The setting feels like it's otherworldly or out of time. You know, it's like the only time we really see outside is this like industrial landscape that Henry walks across. So it opens up with what seems like a shot of space as sort of Henry superimposed sideways. And then we get the character of the man in the planet. You know, we see this planet, we go inside it. And there's a man that looks like a leper, and he has all these levers. And we see these sort of spermatozoa creatures. We see Henry scream. The man pulls the lever, and the sperm thing falls into a puddle. And then we're in the real world, I guess, with Henry walking across the landscape. And right off the bat, it's one of the things about this movie is that it could have been a silent film. There's very, very little dialogue. When there is dialogue, there's long pauses in between each other. Like, we don't even hear anybody speak till about 10 minutes in. He's walking across the landscape. He's got a bag of groceries. And when he goes into his apartment building, you know, it looks like a set, but it looks like a rundown apartment building. It's just, everything is so weird. Weird is going to be the word of the day for this fucking review. And there's just these odd shots. Like, he steps in the elevator, and the doors don't close. He's just standing there. And then the camera cuts back to a wider shot, and it still holds on these doors not shutting. And then finally it does. It's just... He's greeted by, I think it's his landlady, saying he's been invited to dinner at his girlfriend's house. He hasn't met her parents yet. And her name is Mary X. They're the X family. She's played by Charlotte Stewart. And this has the smaller weird stuff that I was talking about that really isn't plot important, I guess, or really metaphorical. This is the stuff that I see more so being weird for the sake of being weird. Like, he gets there, and, you know, it's like this big wide shot. The two of them are sitting on the couch. Her mother's sitting in a chair. Henry's describing that he works at this factory. And then Mary just has a seizure. It's sort of like a calm seizure, like... So the mother's like rubbing her back, and then all of a sudden she's just like, Henry's very good at whatever it is he does. Just things like snap in and out of these anomalies. And then the dad is played by Alan Joseph. He's this weird looking dude. Well, he's normal looking. He rushes into the kitchen, and he's like this on the table, and he's talking really fast, but I can't remember what he says. But then they're finally at the dinner table, which actually before the dinner table, her mother goes into the kitchen, and I guess the grandmother is in there. She sits in a chair, but she doesn't move. Her mom puts this big bowl of lettuce in her lap, goes behind her, and stirs the lettuce with the grandmother's arms. It just, to me, that's nonsensical. But, you know, it's still thought-provoking. It adds to the surreal nature, the dreamlike atmosphere. And then, of course, during the dinner scene, they have like these little chickens. Henry goes to carve one, but when he does, the blood is gushing out of where the head was, and his legs are twitching. And then the mother has a seizure. It just gets more and more intense till she runs out of the room screaming. Then there's just this long scene. Mary runs after her, and it's just dead silence. The camera just kind of pans over, and then it sticks. Because the kitchen door is right behind where the dad is sitting. And the dad is just, for a very long time, it's unsettling. No, then the mother takes Jack's the actor's name, Henry out into the hall. It was like, have you had intercourse? Of course, he either doesn't answer people or he takes too long to answer. So then she starts coming on to him. She starts like kissing his neck. But then Mary comes out. That's where we find out she's pregnant, or she's already had the baby. It's premature. Mary's crying, saying we're not even sure if it is a baby. So right there, it set up something strange. We know that when we see this baby, it's going to look odd. So the mother forces them to marry, and Mary's moved into his one-bedroom apartment. It's not even one bedroom, it's one room. It's like a bed, a radiator, a dresser, and like a desk. And he's got piles of dirt everywhere. Like, he's got piles of dirt and like dead plants on the floor by the radiator, on his nightstand. And that's where we see the baby. The baby is sitting, laying on the table, and it's got like a pillow the size of my hand. It's resting its head on it. It's just a head, a skinny little neck, and then like a body that's wrapped up in bandages. And it's very strange looking. David Lynch did the special effects, and he's never said what he used as a prop. Even like the director of photography, I think it was, had to wear a blindfold so we couldn't see how the prop was maneuvered, because then he could tell what it was. But there's theories, like Lynch used to say weird things like it was born nearby, or we found it one day. Just very creepy explanations. There's theories that it was a skinned rabbit, or like a lamb fetus, which is what I lean towards. That's what it looks like, because it's like a football-shaped head, skinny little neck, and all it does is moan, make like baby noises, which the noises was actually provided by Lynch's actual daughter. It's just got eyes way down on the side of its head and like a little mouth. And this prop looks so real. It looks like an alien baby, like a deformed alien baby. Because it's very fleshy looking, it's moist, its eyes and mouth move, its movements kind of look kind of puppety, but other times it moves very fluidly. And it's unsettling. You feel bad for it. Because one, it's hideous. But two, it's cute in like an E.T. way. Where like you don't want anything bad to happen to it. And it is a very pathetic little creature. And from there, the story, I'm not going to go step by step here, because it's pretty much Henry and Mary trying to adjust to marriage and parenthood. In fact, the only time Henry smiles in the whole movie, he comes home, he's laying on his bed, and he's just staring into his radiator. Mary's feeding the baby, and he looks over, and he just kind of smiles like his happy little family. But it's not. Him and Mary don't get along. The baby's fucked up. They don't even converse, and when they do, they're just strained. Like, there's a part where they're laying in bed together, and, they're laying like this, and he, like, goes to touch her shoulder, and she jerks away from him. he finds like these little plant seed things that he keeps checking on in a little cupboard. And of course there is like the two metaphors. There's the lady in the radiator, which we sort of go inside the radiator, and there's this woman who has like a 50s dress, hairdo, but she's got like these huge cauliflower cheeks, and she's doing this awkward little like step dance on a stage while little like those big sperm creatures are falling, and she's just stomping on them. And then the beautiful woman across the hall is someone he lusts after. The baby's cries leads Mary to leave. She leaves him and makes him take care of the baby. And it even comes to a part, like probably the one jump scare, takes the baby's temperature and looks at it, sort of turns away, and then when he turns back, it's like, whoa, baby's got sores all over it. It's like moaning, like, intolerably. It's getting sick somehow. It won't eat. He has a sexual encounter with the woman across the hall. And I think what those two characters represent is the lady in the radiator is sort of the anxieties of parenthood. Like, that's why she's stomping on the sperms. And later on she's singing this song, in heaven everything is fine in heaven. And the beautiful woman across the hall, and those are actually their names in the credits, lady in the radiator and beautiful woman across the hall, is, I guess, just his unready for marriage. It is just, there's this one scene, I just watched this last night, because after I did my Fog review, I put in the remake, made it about 10 minutes, so I was like, I'm not watching this shit right now. So then I put this in, because I really like Eraserhead. I can't remember where this scene is placed, but he's now in the radiator. He's also hallucinating. That's another thing we're supposed to take away from it. Are these things real? Are they his hallucinations or his beliefs? But he has this vision of him on like a spectator bench by the stage, and he's like twirling the railing in front of his seat, and then I can't remember how, but his head gets lopped off. It lands on the floor, and we see a headless Henry. He's still twirling the railing, and that to me is really creepy. He's just twirling that thing while he has no head. And then we see like what looks like the baby's head coming out. Where his head is on the floor, it's like a pool of blood. It falls through, lands in the street. This kid takes it somewhere where he gives it to this guy, puts it in a machine, and it makes the erasers. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that stands for. But it is kind of a long sequence. But I think that's either before or after he goes out in the hall to see the woman again, and she's with another man, and it kind of hurts him, even though he's still married, so shame on him anyway. And so he tries to help the baby. Now, I'm going to say spoiler warning. I know I've already spoiled most of the movie, but this is the most disturbing part. So, if you haven't seen this, go check it out. It is a horror film. It just doesn't fit in with any other genre. I mean, other than body horror. like surreal body horror. It is very strange, and it is an experience. And before I continue with spoilers, just so you know what I'm talking about, there are movies like, you can watch Human Centipede 2, especially, a Serbian film, shit like that, and say, oh, it's disturbing because it's fucked up. Because of the stuff that's in those movies. Whether people are sewn together a certain way, or there's rape scenes of various types. It's disturbing because it's fucked up. This movie is disturbing in like a very visceral, nightmarish, really thought-provoking, under-your-skin kind of way. So even though this may seem tame compared to like the extreme horror movies of today, or 10 years ago at this point, this is still up there, just on a different level. So I highly recommend it. It's not for everyone, but spoilers from here on out. He goes to cut the bandages off the baby, and when he does, it opens up and all its organs are in there. The bandages were holding this thing together. And, the baby just starts, like, gyrating and, like, screaming and shaking. And, I mean, the organs look real. It's black and white, but it's still very gory and realistic. And then Henry, I don't know if it's just, like when you see something, you just want to poke it. Or if it's out of mercy, he stabs it. I guess it's supposed to be in the heart, but it looks like the lungs. And, blood's coming out of the baby's mouth. And then all these, like, it looks like mashed potatoes are coming out of it. Way more than the mass of the baby. And then we have, the nightmare where it's the baby's giant head because the power's going like that. This almost looks like the brain that wouldn't die. Or that... Is that the movie? There's the brain that wouldn't die, then there's the brain from Planet something. Just a brain going around. It's an old, like, 40s, 50s B horror movie. That's what it looks like. It's like half the size of the room. Every time the light flashes, it's in a different section. And that's when we see this. We see this image because, well, during the sequence when his head gets turned into erasers, a guy tests the eraser, brushes the shavings off, and we see like just a dark space with all these shavings. Well, after all that shit with the baby, we now see Henry with this stunned look with all the shavings around him. And then he embraces the lady in the radiator. That's the end of the movie. That shot, though, what I take from it is that's the moment where he's finally snapped. He's completely disconnected from reality. Whether he's having nightmares, hallucinating, or what, I think this shot, after everything that's happened, that is when he's completely gone fishing. And I know I'm probably leaving a lot of stuff out. Like, there's even other weird stuff, like when Mary leaves him. It's this weird, because he's laying in bed, so it's like his vision. She comes up to the railing of the bed, and she's like having a seizure, so she's like going like this, and it's all silent, and then she just gets up and leaves. Yeah, it's a very strange movie, and a lot of people say it doesn't make sense, or it's not supposed to. There is a linear story, and I think it is a metaphor for the anxieties of parenthood, of marriage, especially for David Lynch. I know he was inspired by two older stories. I can't remember what ones or what authors. But his daughter, who was born around this time, was born with severely clubbed feet. So, just the anxieties of having and taking care of a deformed baby, I guess. even his own daughter has gone on to claim, yeah, my deformity and my birth has inspired this. I guess shooting took place over like 4 or 5 years because they could never have like consistent funding. And Jack Nance actually kept his hair like this for that entire time. The man on the planet is played by a guy named Jack Fisk, who I think is an art director on a lot of films, especially for Brian De Palma. Like most of De Palma's films, especially Carrie, which his wife is actually Sissy Spacek. And Sissy Spacek was actually the one that held the clapper for every scene, and she donated a lot of money. Her and her husband, Jack Fisk, donated a lot of money to get this film made. It didn't do very well when it was released. You know, people had very little interest. No one really liked it. But then it had some time as a midnight drive-in grindhouse film, and that's where it took off. And I mean, The Guardian, Empire, Sunday Times, like all these prestigious reviews were very positive. And it kind of feels like something you would show in a film school, like the things that you can do. Like it's almost like a cross between a music video and a nightmare. That's what it feels like. But it's weird I say music video because other than the like Everything Is Fine in Heaven song and the end credits, there's no music. It's just this ominous dark tones and white noise. That's almost all it is, and that really fits with the black and white, moody, eerie atmosphere. In fact, its music, which David Lynch also helmed, along with a guy named Alan Splett, they spent a year working on the sound, which is insane. And it's mostly just ominous, eerie sounds. Almost like Chainsaw Massacre, but more ominous than that. You know, just very like industrial, echoey, weird noises. But yeah, it's very strange. It does have a plot, you know. It is easy to follow if you pay attention, but they're actually, you know, first time I saw it, I was kind of like, what the fuck? But when I thought about it, I was like, oh, okay, so that's the lady in the radiator. Okay, I kind of get that. Oh, also, the reason why I think this scene is when he splits is because we see the man in the planet again. And all his levers are sparking, and he's trying to get everything to work, and then the planet explodes. So I think the man in the planet represents his mind. Ultimately, it is open to interpretation. I think David Lynch, I think he purposely wanted to make an openly ambiguous film, but I think he plants enough seeds to get people started with thoughts, and then the rest of it we're supposed to make up. This is a movie I enjoy very much. It's definitely a surreal experience. It's the closest I've ever seen to like a nightmare. Like if you could record somebody's nightmare, this is what it would be like. It's very again, it's not for everybody because there's just a lot of silence, a lot of nothing. But it's very thought-provoking. And I've gone on for about a half hour now. I guess I did better than I thought. I hope I did. Eraserhead, possibly David Lynch's. Well, I've only seen two, but it's my favorite of the two. I would like to see Blue Velvet and The Elephant Man. But, you know, I love black and white movies. Especially when they don't need to be. But you know, like with Clerks, it just makes it feel more authentic. This the black and white and the music just helps the atmosphere of just otherworldly nothingness, industrial, post-apocalyptic, whatever. If you're into just odd films or, you know, things that make you think, or I want to watch something fucked up, definitely give this a look. It's one that you'll always remember. I love this movie. I really like it. So, I'm going to end it there. Hopefully you stuck with me through the whole thing. But Eraserhead, weird as fuck. There is something to follow, and I really enjoy it. So, thank you for watching.